Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Commission Breath. Brandon Love and Tom Moffat here. We are sitting in my cottage. We are doing a mastermind session this weekend, and it's kind of cool. We're episode 45 today, and we were looking back that last time we did one of these sessions, we recorded a little podcast as well. And that was episode 5 for us, collaboration versus competition. If you want to go back and have a listen to a throwback. So that was August 1st. 40 episodes since then. We're stoked to be back here. We've got a couple Negronis on the go. And we're just going to chat about sort of where things are at, how far we've come, what's going on in the market today, and how we are reacting to it.
It's crazy to think 10 months later, we're still doing this, man. We still love doing it. And to think that we were going to be doing this still and consistently is mind blowing. But here we are. This is something that we've been doing in our business. This is probably the third time we've done the mastermind sessions. And we seem to get a lot of value out of it every time we do it. And if we reflect back to, we'll go back to the horse farm session back in August. I think there's some pretty good takeaways that we had from that session that carried over to our business. So maybe we can start reflecting on a bit of those things that we implemented into our business, what worked, what didn't work, what we implemented, what we didn't implement, and kind of compare that to what we're doing this time around and what's different here.
For sure. So I think at that session it was really good from it was the first time we were merging our business. So we had a lot of question marks on client journey. How are things going to work out? And a lot of that stuff we put into place has been very effective. We also had some like pie in the sky kind of ideas of all the shit we were going to do. And we realized that when we get busy and you're like, 15 files a month, that sometimes certain things fall off the page because you're underwriting other files, you're working on things, and you can't necessarily do all of these items that when it's a little bit quieter, you have more time and luxury to do them.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed was a couple of what we did this time around was we created an actual to-do list. I think we did it the last time too, but we never really revisited it. So this time we're actually creating a point system towards it, which is kind of full circle, the whole collaboration versus competition. We like collaboration and competition, so we like to have some competition in there to keep us both accountable. And that's what we're doing this time around. We're creating this point system, so now going forward, we're going to have this template of a daily checklist for us to implement with our non-negotiables. And then by the end of the month, we're going to tally it up and have some sort of overall competition with it. We haven't really refined that yet. And we're in the middle of it right now. But that's what we're doing this time around because we found that the last time we did implement quite a bit, but we kind of fell off the rails with some of the stuff that we wanted to do. And I noticed we have some things on our list this year from last August that were still there that we never completed. Like to be honest, like we did a lot, but there's to give you an example, we had one video that's been on our list for so damn long, and you probably know which one I'm talking about. It's the video outlining the steps to go through the application on Finmo. When we send out that templated email to the borrowers saying, "Hey, here's the application link. Here's how to start the application. Here's what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you need to include. Here's the common mistakes." Whatever that video is going to be, we've had that on our list for so long, and it's just like small stuff like that. That now that I look at it, I'm like, man, it's coming on our list again. This is something that's going to the top of our list this time, and we're absolutely going to be checking that off this year.
Yeah, I think we've recorded probably like 10 versions of it in Loom for specific clients, but never felt good about it. So it never became like part of our client journey. So we refined the client journey and just added a few pieces there. How can we make things stickier for losing less things to the banks? Just little tweaks like that. That was really great to circle back on. The other piece with having the point system and the little bit of competition there is it's a fun way to hold each other accountable. So, like, there's certain things Tom's great at doing that I suck at, and vice versa. But we realize we both have to do some of this stuff. So, like, if I haven't sent my DMs, which I don't like doing, you probably never get one from me, then Tom can be like, "Hey, Brandon, what the fuck? Like, you haven't done this." Like, and for Tom, if I'm like, "Hey, you haven't done your calls," we can kind of hold each other accountable there and that little element of competition because you don't want to lose points. And whether the prize is just buying drinks out or something bigger, we'll figure that out. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But like these kind of little games and points and prizes are things that we put into our business and we're putting into the brokerage we're building because we think it makes work fun and it also drives massive growth for you from a revenue perspective as well.
Yeah, and I think it helps with the motivation too, because like I find motivation comes and goes, it flows. You can't always rely on motivation. And I think having the gaming system in place allows you to keep on track with the stuff you're supposed to be doing on a daily basis. And we've proved it with different things in our business before, gamifying stuff. So we know it works. Now we're just really enhancing it and taking it one step further by putting it into an actual, I guess you can call it a CRM, not like a mortgage CRM. We're actually going to build this all out on Notion. So for those of you who haven't used Notion before, I've kind of dabbled with it here and there in the past. I think you've used it more than I have, right?
Yeah, I used to use it for like clients, showing them which documents they've done, checklists for them, things like that. It was pretty good. I eventually just migrated it all to Google Drive because people didn't necessarily feel comfortable having their data housed on Notion, which is silly, but clients are weird about that kind of stuff. It's a wonderful tool. There's a lot of customization and personalization to it. And you can build out really cool stuff that pass the limitations of CRMs and pass the limitations of mortgage specific tools. Like you can't build competitions and stuff like that in there. If someone's listening from Broker Edge or Blue or something like that, build the competition into the CRM. That would be pretty cool. But having some of these tools is really helpful that way.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing. Like it's not really meant for the mortgage files, and that's what I'm excited about it for. Is that you can really just build anything you want on this one platform. And for us, it really works well because we've got different projects like we've talked about before. Our mortgage business, Tango, two different podcasts. Like we have these different things that we need to merge into one hub to keep on track of things. And obviously, a mortgage CRM isn't going to do that. So this might not really be applicable to like the individual mortgage agent, but maybe go check it out. I was actually asking you before, I was like, is this maybe shiny object? Like, are we going to waste time building something out like this? And then you quickly answered that no, because we're going to build this thing one time and it's going to be this ever going thing that we're going to continually update and make it specific to what we're trying to accomplish again on a daily basis. So
For sure. And I think a big piece of why we wanted to have a session like this weekend, it's the long weekend. We're having a couple drinks, but like we're away from our families, really focused on going deep on the business is when you add so many layers. So we've got, commission breath. We have our YouTube channel, the Canadian Mortgage Guide, obviously our mortgage book of business. We have Tango, brokerage, and just families and stuff in life in general. So it sometimes felt like getting on a hamster wheel and you're just like, what are we accomplishing today? And how do we accomplish things, but make sure that like doing something for the brokerage doesn't cost the mortgage book business or doing something for the business doesn't cost the family? How do we make this all work? And part of that is figuring out dialing in these systems, dialing in the checklists that just need to be done every day and really simplifying the process so that it's like every day you wake up, I've got to get this done. Okay, it takes me 6 hours to do. It takes me 4 hours to do. Then from there, how can I make it more efficient? Dial it in, optimize it, and go forward because you know there's going to be another piece added onto the pile soon with something else as well, or just like things scaling in general. And if you don't build these systems now, that you fall apart when that grows.
yeah, and I think we both had the same feeling this past week of like, okay, we're waking up. What are we doing on a daily basis? Because it's like so overwhelming that you're like, man, I don't know like where to focus my effort on right now. And it was funny that we both felt the same way. So this was absolutely needed. And even like within the first, I think I said to you after the first like half hour of us like getting into it, like man, like, I feel like we're zipping through this, like, really fast, like, almost felt like there was something wrong, and you're like, "No, it's just not, like, we just needed to do this in person and just get all our thoughts out," and just, like, became, like, that much more clear after even a half hour of doing it, so, for you as a listener, this can be helpful even if you're not partnered with someone as a business partner per se, like, even just getting together in person, with other agents and brokers and hashing these things out in some sort of mastermind group or even just pick your one accountability partner. These things are often overlooked, and I'm starting to realize that now as we do this more often.
For sure. And on that note, we were talking today about doing some more events and having like opening this up so it's not just Tom and I. Obviously, we're up at my cottage right now, so like I'm not gonna have you all up here. Some of you maybe, but like having like a like something like meet at a brewery or somewhere like that, have an in person and kind of share what we're doing for marketing, what we're doing for business development, underwriting, whatever it might be, like all of those things in an open forum kind of chat, like no formal structure or anything like that, but like just get together and share some ideas. So if that's something that resonates with you and you think you would be interested in doing it, shoot us a DM or something. We're mulling over putting it together. But if you guys are like that sounds boring as shit, then we won't do it.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good time.
I think it'd be fun. There's a few good breweries in the GTA and stuff that we could all go to. So it'd be a good time.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to chat about today is I'm seeing it more and more often. A lot of agents and brokers and loan officers are losing files to very aggressive bank. It's something that we can't really avoid right now. Rhymes with SmartBC. They're being super aggressive right now, and it's killing a lot of us. And not even just them. There's a lot of other banks too. So something we are trying to combat with that, and something that we think is the solution for us is like we're losing files to them too. Like everyone is at this point, and I hate seeing I shouldn't say hate, but it's kind of like a pet peeve of mine when I see other brokers and, some of the Facebook groups saying like, "Oh, just show up with value and show them why you're more valuable than the bank and this, and that." But at the end of the day, like, some of these clients, you're gonna walk the rate. Like, some of these rates are just absolutely ridiculous, and if it were me, I would probably walk away too, because of these rates compared to what we can offer. So what we're doing is well, really 2 things. The first thing we're doing is our solution to that is just to simply get more leads. If you look at your, amount of leads you get with your conversion rate, and you're like, "Okay, what if I just doubled the amount of leads I get?" Then that just kind of becomes like a non-problem. If you accept that you will lose some of these clients to the bank, then it's not gonna be as much of a blow to you. And yes, it still sucks, but at the end of the day, the more leads you have, the less problems you have. The only caveat to that is, of course, the more leads you have, the more time you're gonna be vested into these leads and these files. But that's where the second piece comes into maybe you can talk a bit more, about that too, with screening the client up front.
Before we leave the first point, I just want to add one piece to that though. If you don't use a lot of metrics in your business, some people just fly by the seat of their pants and they don't track numbers. That's totally cool. But like one number you should track is leads in to funded files. And that's your simple conversion rate. And having insight into that is year after year how you can tell if your client journey and your business is getting healthier or if you've changed something that people don't actually like. And I think it's really important to track. So just if you're going to take one metric and implement it in your business, that's the one to do. I think there's a lot of times and scenarios where we do bring a ton of value, and the clients, a lot of them love that, and that's why they come to us, and that's why they're there. A lot of them just actually want to have the lowest possible monthly rate. So part of what we can do is a filter in our discovery call and say, okay, what is it that you actually want? Do you want to build a portfolio? And do you want to have the best strategy, or do you simply want to get the lowest rate today? Are you coming to us because you want the lowest possible rate? And if they're like, you know what, I don't actually care about strategy. I don't care about portfolio properties. I don't care about these things. I just want to pay the least amount of money possible. Then we're still going to do our budget. We're going to still do all those things, but we're going to just say, you know what? Here's your 5 year fix. It's going to get the buy down with it if they need to compete on rate, and they'll get the best 5 year fixed out there, and they'll be happy with that low rate. And we'll give them kind of the disclaimer that why we think there's better options out there, but based on your sentiment that you only care about rate, this is the best rate. And that's going to be super competitive. It'll be hard for the banks to hit back at. And then you have the wiggle room on the commission you get paid for some of these lenders with the volume bonus and everything you're getting. You have the room that if you need to create your own cash back to combat someone's flight points at a branch or buy someone an iPad or whatever the hell the bank comes up with next, you can do some of these things. And do I think it's the best way long term? No, but you have to figure out a way to still hunt and to still kill. And in a world where people are just kind of walking for $12 a month here and there, if that's the kind of people, that's the kind of service and product they're going to get.
Yeah, and obviously the gross and net commissions at the end of the year doing that strategy is going to be a lot lower, but it's going to be a short term thing. Like our mindset right now is just to cast a net, bring in as many closed clients as possible. They're in our world. I'm hesitant on saying we can get them at the renewal because a lot of people say like, oh, you get them for the 2 3 year fix. That's fine. You're getting half the commission, but you can get them at renewal. But I would love to see a stat out there, like how often you can actually get a client at renewal and switch them to a new lender. Like banks are being super aggressive with renewals, especially this year, knowing that there's less purchases. These banks are going to be way more aggressive with rates. So I know there's strategies out there. There's ways to pitch clients as to why you should switch to lender A, X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, deep down, if you know that lender is best off for that client, then just move on to the next deal. That's my mindset going forward. I just want to capture as many closed deals as possible this year. And then whether we get that client a renewal or whether they buy another property or whether they refer out a family friend or anyone that they know, it's just going to build out those future referrals in my eyes.
Exactly. And when we're saying this, we're not saying like we're dropping the service level for clients. We're just saying like so often, and I think like probably you're the same, and a lot of brokers are the same, that certain times we're telling people, okay, this is why a 3 year fix makes sense, or this is why product X makes sense for you. And we're explaining, yes, the rate's a little bit higher, but this is why it's better for you long term. And a lot of people really value that because they care about service, they care about the long term paying less money, they care about those things. There's a whole other cohort of people who price compare everything in their life, and all they care about is saving money today. And you're not going to change the way they view things, and stop trying to.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. Like,
Yeah.
stop trying to force it.
The idea that you think you're doing the best job by doing that, and sure you are, but you're trying to project your belief onto their belief system, which is just different than yours. So recognize that, identify it in the discovery call, and then for those people, give them the best 5 year fix you can.
The one last thing I'll add to this, and this is a bit controversial, but I see all the time people in the mortgage space ranting, like saying, like, "Hey, you know that bank's going to have a higher IRD penalty than this lender over here. Like, you got to pitch them that way." And I get that. I 100% agree. But they're discounting the fact that that bank has a really good blend extend feature that can avoid those penalties, and their porting features are most likely better than these other lenders who are more fair penalty lenders. So I like to take both sides and not just be like one sided because I think it is what's best for the client, and I don't want to force something and then last second lose out on the deal and waste my time and our team's time. So that's how I look at it. I don't know if you're the same or not, but I see that all the time in groups talking about penalty.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is educating clients so that they make the best decision. We're not projecting decisions on people. Like, we're not saying you have to do this or anything like that. We make recommendations, or we say this is what we would do in your scenario, but this option exists and you pick. At the end of the day, we advise, client chooses. That's just how it works. But that being said, what we advise on and the amount of depth and detail we go on for certain clients, if they just care about rate, we'll give them a rate, and that's that. If they want to have future education, there's our Canadian Mortgage Guide channel, which we share with clients, and that has tons of detail as to why we recommend certain things. So the people who actually care and want to go deep on things, they can go deep on it, and we will go deep on it with them. But the ones who are surface level, just dollars, they're going to just get what they want.
Yeah, so why don't we switch gears and pivot to lead gen and what we are planning on doing? So we are keeping it super simple. We're not recreating the wheel. I think a lot of brokers right now might be feeling a bit of a panic, which I get. Like it's a tough market out there. In my opinion, I think it's tougher than last year. Surprisingly, I thought this year would be better. So for us, what we're doing is we are simply just increasing the outputs that we're doing right now. And for us, realtors have always worked. I think renewals, we will focus on that as well, but we want to just ramp up the amount of purchase files we get in. Although the chips are low with realtors right now, if we can just extend and create more relationships with referral partners, that's our plan. So all we're doing is we're doing 2 meetings each a week with referral partners, and that's it. That's all we're doing to increase. Like we're doing other stuff, but we're not changing anything. We're keeping the same and just ramping up the amount of meetings we have per week.
Yeah, so keeping our we have a pretty good like realtor journey and flow there, which we've gone so deep on this before, so you can listen back if this is your first episode. But so we're just keeping the system in place and just pouring in more on the top end of it. So it's going to be good. Our goal is just 2 per week each, and we're having that competition as well, who can have the most realtor meetings, and it's just kind of fun back and forth. And I did one on Friday before, well, I did it from here actually, and I was kind of like, I don't really want to do this. I had a buddy up. I wanted to just like hang out with him and chill, and the meeting kept getting bumped later and later, but I did the meeting. I got 3 leads from her on that call.
Tell the listeners why she gave you those leads, though.
She gave me the leads because she loved bald guys with big beard no,
With big what?
big beards. She gave me the leads because she had a broker who, had dropped the ball on a scenario, so we had the call go out to her. We have, someone dialing for us. So Olivia called her. She was really busy because she had this, like, mortgage scenario blowing up in her face. So Livia's like, "Okay." So she called her back 2 weeks later, got the meeting, and so in that call, I went through kind of our value adds, and then I said, "Let's go back to the scenario you were experiencing 2 weeks ago when Levia called you." And we walked through it, and I was like, "This is how I would handle it and how my team would handle it." And she's like, "That's great." And then she's like, "Can you tell me how you'd handle these other 3 scenarios?" And we went through each of them, and she's like, "That's amazing. These are like 3 client scenarios I have right now. I'm gonna send them over." That is such a high value return. The other piece is she's in an office with over 100 agents that are all come to the office. So they have a lawyer, they have a mortgage broker team there, and she's like, "I'm going to get a group of them together, and you can do this exact same presentation for us." So that's a huge return on 40 minutes of time. I would not have this contact without going out and trying to get the meetings. And yes, sometimes it's easy to sit back and wait for your current partners to send you business, but when they're quiet and they're struggling, they might meet someone else.
I was just gonna say that. Like, put yourself in the other broker's shoes. Like, 100%. We've pitched to maybe, well, I don't know how many, but a lot of realtors, and we know not all of them are sending us business. And maybe they had at one point, and they kind of just went quiet. And it could either just be they're quiet, or it could be that they went to another broker because they got pitched by them and they like what they're doing, or they connected better. Whatever the reason is, like your partners will come and go through your system. And so it just goes to show you, like, anyone can drop the ball. Like, even like some of the most experienced brokers in the industry can drop the ball. Shit happens. So if either your experience, forget about it, move on to the next one, create more relationships, or if you're newer, make sure you have like a mentor or a brokerage or someone that can help you with these files if you're inexperienced with them, because you definitely don't want any of that. And, like, we never planned for files to screw up and you have to drop the ball for that realtor, but shit happens.
Yeah, shit does happen, and like for a myriad of reasons, someone else could meet them. Some you can just be busy or like have a bad day and respond to someone with like kind of a short message, and that is enough to tick them off. So it's like people are finicky. So you always want to be adding new people to the system. And this was brought to mind in the episode with Greg Williamson, where he talked about building kind of like a hockey team, like a sports team, and treating your partners like that. So you have your starting lineup, you have your second, your third, your fourth, but then you have your farm team and your people you're developing and your relationships that are growing that way. And someone there might become your starting center. You don't know that, but you want to constantly be adding there. If you don't go find new prospects for your system, eventually will get injured, get old, retire. You'll have nothing left. So you have to, as comfortable as is to just stay in the mode, work with the people you like, hanging out with the friends you know. Sometimes you do have to push yourself a bit, get uncomfortable, take these meetings, set aside time for your day that you'd rather be doing something else, and open the door to a new relationship because that's where the rewards really lie.
As long as you have those systems set up, then you know you're going to keep consistent with a lot of these meetings going forward. So that's what we have set up. I don't know if you want to add anything else that we went through today or not.
I just wanted to add if you like some of this stuff, systems building, competition, internal competition, that kind of thing. We are building a brokerage right now. We're looking for agents who are hungry. and want to grow their business and actually like competition, accountability, and striving to build something, not just being happy, complacent, sitting, doing nothing. We want the people who are wanting to build. So if you identify as a builder and someone who wants to actually knock something out of the park, reach out to us because we would love to just have a chat and see, go through what we are planning and what we're looking to do. And at the end of the meeting, at least you'll know if it's something you're interested in or if you're happy where you are. And no obligation either way. But I just think some of you who are taking the time to listen to podcasts and grow and expand your knowledge and apply new skills and things like that are probably the fit for the culture.
Hungrier people for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's the ones we're looking for and that will fit the culture we're building. And it's fun. We're gonna do a lot more events and things like that that, build a culture and community more so than a lot of these like virtual brokerages that are out there.
That's a great touch point there. If you are interested, circling back to our at the beginning of the episode, if you're interested in meeting up and grabbing a beer, having some drinks, some food, let us know. We're going to have some event in the near future, and we'll go from there.
Take care, everyone. Have an awesome day.
Cheers.
Bye.